Hi, I'm Rachel Holmes and welcome to the Lifestyle Show. My next guest is Stacey Robbins and we talk about a myriad of topics from meditation to journaling to Hashimoto's and autoimmune disease. And please share it with your friends and remember, subscribe to my YouTube channel. So here's Stacey.
Hi Stacey, how are you?
Hello, Rachel. I'm doing well across the pond. How are you?
There in Huntington Beach. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. I really appreciate it. Stacey, the first question I always ask my guests is, so we want to hear your backstory and your experiences and how you've come to the point where you are now with your business and your wellness and your health and everything that you're offering.
So sweet. Well, thank you for having me and for asking me. I'm a Renaissance woman. I am somebody who's probably lived a million lives within this lifetime. I'm this New Jersey girl who was born saying walk, talk, and coffee, and growing up in this very religious Italian Catholic household with tons of great food and pasta and celebrations and craziness. And I became a professional musician. I traveled all over the country in the U.S. and I recorded, and I was a recording artist and a performer. So I lived that life of artistry, you know, and brought the humor and craziness from my background. And then I met my husband, Rock Robbins, very cute man. When I was in I was my late teens, so I was like 18, 19. I was performing around California and had different agents, and he was a musician as well, so I'd book him to play with me, and that didn't sound right, but we'd perform together is really what I meant, and then, you know, life just kind of evolved. We eloped, and we've been married 27 years, so but in that point, speaking of 27 years, when I was around 25, 26, we'd been married 6 or so years at that point, I hit this huge health bump. I mean, huge, where my life it crashed and burned. I had these circumstances of, you know, a couple of people in my family passing, including my father at the very young age of 49 from type 1 diabetes. I was hit in the first of 2 car accidents at that time. And my marriage, my husband and I, as much as we loved each other, we really just had some huge growing pains and we were separated. So around that time, and I'm working as a professional musician, probably 80 hours a week at least. I'm doing live recording. I'm in the studio. I'm coaching other people. I'm traveling all over. And so my life hits this speed bump at me going about 100 miles an hour. And I crashed. And so I started having these symptoms. I started having sinus infections and body aches and insomnia. My skin started changing. My hair started falling out. I started being very moody and feeling depressed and feeling like I couldn't get up out of bed even if I slept all night. And I didn't understand what was going on. And my whole thing is, if you don't feel well, but you have something to do, you just push harder. You know, like that Italian work ethic, you just go harder. And so that wasn't working. And I did the whole running around to different doctors, having so many tests, going to specialists. They all scratched their head, told me it was anxiety. I'm like, one of my main symptoms was that I was having epic weight gain. You know, I went from the sexy, curvy 135-pound body, you know, where I was on stage and looking so cute, to like gaining weight. Sometimes it would be 10 pounds in a week.
Wow.
It was crazy. And my brain was all foggy and fuzzy, and the doctors just said, we don't know what's wrong with you. We think it's anxiety. It got to the point month after month, probably about 8 or 9 months into this. I'm like 27 years old at this point. I am sleeping in the hospital of the parking lot of the hospital right outside the emergency room because I am so terrified to die at home. And I'm not doing well. And so my life was really just full of a lot of anxiety, heartache and pain and confusion because I didn't know what was going on with me. So finally, the doctors just said, you know what, you have reached just maximum in your body. You are so toxic. I was 270 pounds, so I was double my weight, and they told me I was dying. So I'm 27 years old and I'm being told your body is so toxic. We don't know what's wrong with you. We just know that your body is shutting down. And so get your affairs in order. Well, huge, right? And the glimmer of hope I was given was if you do live, you'll never have children, you know. But there's a possibility you might live, but if you do, you'll never have children. So at 27, I was having to reconcile a lot. My husband and I got back together, and we were trying to work through all this health stuff for me. But the truth was that I really couldn't do very much. I couldn't go harder, more. I had to sit on my couch and go in. I had to sit on my couch in the living room and just go, do I have peace to exit at this point? Like, what is going on with me? I had to kind of look at what I had placed my peace in. I had to look at what I had placed my identity in. Because when you're 270 pounds and your skin is bleeding and your hair is turned orange and is falling out, you don't look like yourself. You don't feel like yourself. You're in pain. You have to ask some inside questions. And so I went on that journey of going, where is my identity? And do I have peace? Peace to leave or peace to stay? Either way, I realized I wasn't peaceful. So those big questions and that journey that I went on, and the traditional medical community, while I have such a high regard for it, I also found that it was hitting a wall of limitation for me, and it course corrected me to some of the naturopathic, the energy healing, to homeopathic. I just kind of went down what could nature, food, and good water and those kinds of things do for me. So along with the introspection, I was led towards more natural means of healing. And I found myself in a really beautiful learning. And it didn't take care of everything either. I had to learn partnership. I had to be in partnership, and I couldn't judge anything. This is bad, this is wrong, this is awful. No, this is good. No, I just had to go, is this for me? Does this work for me, or does it not work for me? And if it does, I welcome it into my healing process. And if it doesn't, then I don't call it bad or wrong. I just call it not for me right now. And the thing is that it could be for me in a week. It could be for me in a year. But right now, so it was a constant inner dialogue, a constant relationship with myself. As a result, I traveled all over the country, you know, going to different healing centers and different spiritual places, because I was trying to figure out what else is going on with my body. Is there something else? What is the body, mind, spirit connection? And I garnered all this learning and so much healing, and I ended up, you know, losing weight and getting healthier and finding answers. And I came to a point about 7 or 8 years ago when social media opened up that I just wanted to share. And so I started sharing, and so many women wanted to hear the stories. So that's what I ended up putting into a book called You're Not Crazy and You're Not Alone. And it's all about losing the victim, finding your sense of humor, and learning to love yourself. For me, it was through Hashimoto's, because I was eventually diagnosed with Hashimoto's, an autoimmune condition where the body attacks the thyroid. So that was the big mystery solved, but it wasn't the end. It was just kind of the beginning. I've been learning still 20 years later. This week, I'm still learning. So that's kind of a nutshell of my background that got me to this point where that's kind of what I'm known for in this season of my Renaissance life.
I love that. I love that. What a story. That's remarkable, Stacey. Thank you for sharing that. So anybody that's watching us today and can perhaps identify for some of the things that you've gone through, but maybe has not been able to visit healing centers and not maybe got a diagnosis, where would somebody start with that? You know, where would you go?
Where do you go when you can't go to healing centers? I think there's so much we can do at home. I think there are questions that we can ask ourselves. A lot of the things, Rachel, for me that got confronted were these stories I had about myself. When I was sitting on the couch going, why do I push so hard? Why do I work so much? Why does it matter to me that my body looks this way? And why do I feel like less worthy when my body is heavier? Like, I had to examine those things. And so I think the first couch you can ever sit on really is your own. And you can ask yourself some of those good probing questions, like, are the beliefs that I've been operating from in my life true? Are those beliefs true? Are the stories true? You know, so many of my clients have gone through things similar to me, and so that's why they relate to my book. But when I coach my clients and I hear that they went through a painful, abusive past, or they went through a toxic relationship with a key person in their life, like a parent or a coach or a priest or somebody, and or they were in had a tragic trauma that happened, or the hard marriage, like whatever it is that's that catalyst circumstance in your life, the thing that seems universal is that so many of us build a story off of it. I was abused, so that means I'm not worth loving. I'm ruined. My husband doesn't pay attention to me. That means I'm not valuable. Oh, I had a car accident, then I had a second car accident. That means I'm doomed. All these little and then that means that is really what screws us up. That's really what undoes us, right? It's not the event, because the event is an event. Hard, tragic, it is. That's painful, right? If you get hit in a car accident and you broke your leg, there's a pain that comes with that, right? You have to heal, you have to be in a cast, you have to be inconvenienced, it hurts, it's itchy under there, it's sweaty under there, and then you get out of that and it's atrophied and you've got to rebuild that muscle. That's the pain of the actual event, right? The suffering that we add to it is, oh, see, I'm not allowed to have good things. I see, I'm doomed to having tragedy happen all the time because, see, 3 years ago, this other thing happened, so probably next year something. Do you understand? That's where we get into that trippy part. So I think the first thing to do is really sit down and ask yourself, are the beliefs that I'm operating from, are they based on truth? And if they're not, how do I shift to what is true, really? So that's the power. Like, do I have to go someplace else to shift? And I think that there are so many, like I said, we have media, the computer, and we have the internet. You can go on YouTube, you can look up meditation, you can do yoga, you can do all of these kinds of inner work, just at home work. Some of my clients are bedridden. You know what I mean? That's the only work they can actually do is the at-home work in their head. I love meditation. And if somebody said to me, where would you start after 20-something years, Stacey, of experience now, and you were on this journey, where would you start? I said, I'd start with the question, those empowering questions of, are these stories I'm living by true, based on truth? And if they're not, one of the things I would do is shift through meditation. Now, meditation is all about meditation. Oh, hi, honey, I'm on an interview. Thank you. My son just came. Could you close the door, please? My 14-year-old didn't know. He's coming in waving. She said, sorry about that. But this is real life, Rachel.
100%.
But meditation for me is such a game changer, because when you're able to be alone with yourself and quiet, you will start to see and hear and feel a restlessness. The discomfort of being with yourself is really one of the biggest plights, I think, of our busy humanity, is we don't know how to be alone with ourselves. And the second thing is, I think we don't know how to be alone in nature, with nature. And so I would encourage people to ask that powerful question, to be in meditation, even if it's 5 minutes a day. It shifts our brain. It shifts our wave patterns in our brain. And then I would invite people to go out in nature and to put their feet in the earth, put their hands on a tree, walk with their feet on the sand, just to be in that healing exchange, the energetic exchange with nature, because those are things you can do without going across the world to a healing center. Those would probably be the first 3 things I would start with. Oh, and I have to add this because this is just the bonus in life. Stream of consciousness journaling is probably one of the best and cheapest forms of therapy you could ever do. Stream of consciousness, where you're just brain dumping, and Julia Cameron wrote about this in her book, The Artist's Way, and she wrote, just take 3 pages a morning and you just write anything that comes to your mind and you get it out of your head. And it clears a space for you to think differently once you've put those crazy thoughts, beautiful thoughts, powerful thoughts, creative thoughts on a piece of paper. And you'll see things on those papers that will reveal healing things to you. And this is what I'll say about it. I remember writing one night, I was up in bed. My husband was next to me. It was actually early in the morning after Thanksgiving. And I had a piece of pecan pie downstairs, but I had to do my stream of consciousness journaling. And I was like, oh, I really want to have that pecan pie. It's calling to me. Oh, no, I shouldn't because of the calories. And I've already eaten enough for 3 people, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, it's so pretty out. Oh, I'm so tired. I feel so tired. A couple sentences later, I really want that piece of pecan pie, but I know I really shouldn't. A couple sentences later, I am so exhausted. I'm just exhausted. And then I wrote again, I really want that piece of pecan pie. And then I wrote, sleep would be so sweet to me. And in writing, sleep would be so sweet to me, I connected the dots that I go to sweets when I'm tired, when I really need to rest. And I started asking myself that question anytime I craved a sweet after that, going, do I really want that treat or do I really need to sleep? That came up in stream of consciousness. So yeah, I love those.
Fabulous. That's so helpful. So going back to meditation, I mean, we read about it all the time. People are hearing they need to meditate, but it's still kind of in the UK. It's still quite a mystical subject. What kind of any tips you would give for anybody that's starting off with meditation? All I hear all the time is people say, I try it, my brain won't switch off, I can't stop thinking, I start thinking about things that happened 25 years ago to things that have not even happened yet and future tripping, and I can't, and it gets too stressful, so I stop.
Right. I think that's really common, and I think that's why I stayed away from it for a long time, because it seemed like something that someone who lives in a cave and wears a drape would do, but not me with my busy mind that always balances the checkbook, you know, or does something. Here's the grocery list. Oh, wait, here's my to-do list for the day. Well, first thing that I would encourage people is that you don't actually have to stop your brain. To just simply, you know, a tool in humanism is just to acknowledge what is happening, and it helps to dissipate it. So if you're sitting there in meditation and your goal is to just have, you know, let's say a clear mind. Some people do that. Like, I just want to have a clear mind, and they'll sit down and they'll take a deep breath. And then within minutes, like, their brain is rattling. Instead of going, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, to say, oh, yeah, so I'm doing the grocery list right now. Okay, come back to my breath.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's a really great tip is to focus on your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, breathing in and out through the nose, we often breathe out through the mouth, but to breathe out through the nose is actually very calming and very relaxing. So you could actually go breathing in the love, breathing out the fear. Like, you could be thinking that and have a little mantra for 5 minutes. Set the timer on your phone for just 3 minutes. Start with 1 minute and just focus on your breath. So giving your brain something to focus on is one of the tips to do. Another is to have a mantra. You know, life is good and goodness is coming to me, or all is well. And to just have that mantra repeating in your mind. When people do transcendental meditation, they work with an instructor who gives them their own special mantra. But you can have your own beautiful mantra that serves your beautiful purpose in life, you know. I am at peace and all is well in my soul. You could just you can make up something. And Louise Hay from Hay House, she has beautiful mantras and affirmations. So sometimes in my meditation, I'll meditate for 1 minute each on my family members. You know, like, I'll meditate on Caleb, my 14-year-old, or Seth, my 12-year-old, and I'll just be thinking, I'll picture them in my mind, and I'll just have that ooey gooey mom feeling, you know, and I'll just, in that moment, I just go, I send love to you, Caleb. I send love to you, to every part of your body, to every cell in your being, to every relationship you come across, to every hurt you experience. I send love to all those places. Those are some ways that you can start meditation.
Oh, Stacey, that's so helpful. How lovely. Thank you for that. And journaling, the same thing. It doesn't have to, it's just anything that comes out, and you just free writing, either in the morning or the evening, would you suggest?
Yes, I think that Julia Cameron talked about doing it in the morning. Are you talking about meditation or journaling? Journaling, yeah. Sorry, journaling, I think it's valuable either way. You know, I think that when you wake up and you've got that busy mind, if you have that kind of like, you know, and you're electrified, you're like, I got to get this out of my system.
Yeah.
And the morning is great for you. If you're somebody whose mind races right before you go to bed, maybe the nighttime is lovely. I used to do stream of consciousness in the morning, journaling, and then at evening I had a gratitude journal, and I would just write 3 things down that I was grateful for in the day, and it just sets your being, you know.
So kind of fast forwarding to now, who are you coaching? Who comes to you now, Stacey, for help? Who are you helping with their journey?
I help women who, it's mostly women and couples. The couples who come to me, it's interesting, almost all of them deal with, many of them deal with either some kind of trust broken, whether it's through, some breakdown in trust. I didn't trust him with the finances. I didn't trust him with, he had a relationship outside of our marriage, those kinds of things. So when I work with couples, a lot of times it's a trust issue. With women who come to me, which is my primary audience, it's usually women who are 40 and above, who are really working on their soul journey and where they're finding misalignment with their life and their passions. Like, I'm living like this, but that doesn't feel like me. How do I get back into aligned? Or I'm feeling really anxious and out of sorts, and I don't know how to find my peace. I don't know how to be present to my spouse, to my kids, to my coworkers. I don't even know how to be present to myself. And these are very accomplished people. It's not like these are people who are just like trying to find themselves. These are people who have been established, but they're just finding that they're asking new questions in this season. And a lot of the people I work with are women with autoimmune conditions. And we go on that journey of how do you live life as a good parent when you feel like a guilty parent because you're tired most of the time, or you have to change the family dynamics because of you, or people can't eat all the same foods because you have to be gluten-free. Like, how do you adjust to life with an autoimmune condition? So those are my primary, that's my primary clientele.
Interesting. And I mean, thyroid problems and autoimmune disease, it's just becoming more and more prevalent across the Western world now, isn't it? More and more people are being diagnosed. If people want to find out more resources from you, your books, your websites, where can they find you, Stacey?
I am at staceyrobbins.com, STACEYROBBINS, and on that you can find the links to my books, to my online coaching course, to booking a coaching session with me. And I even now have started on my website having my husband's new book. It's called The Guy's Guide to Hashimoto's. Because we've gone through so much as a couple all these years, we were like, oh my gosh, we need to help the men. We need to help the men to understand and the women to feel understood. So he wrote this really great book. We were traveling in Europe, and we were in Italy this year, a few months ago actually, and he just sat down and knocked out this book in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
It was an act of love and passion.
He must have needed to get that out.
Now we need to go back to Italy for the vacation from writing the book. But so you can find those things there. And my book, You're Not Crazy, You're Not Alone, and my book, Bloom Beautiful, are both on Amazon.
Fantastic. And you've got a new book coming out next year?
I have a new book coming out, yes, in a couple of months. I have 2 new books coming out. One is called An Unconventional Life, where I talk about the parables, the stories of my life filled with love, humor, and truth, and a lot of miracles and amazing things. And it's really a book of inspiration and fun and depth. And then of our travels around the world, or the unconventional things we've done, and some of the lessons we've learned that way. And then another book that I have coming out is called Hashimoto's Can Heal Your Life. And the whole idea is that, we get this thing dropped in our lap of this diagnosis, and we're just kind of pissed and we want it out of our lap. But the truth is that if we realize that it's actually a flashlight that got dropped in our midst, and we can use it to shine on the corridors of our life, like, wow, how am I living? How is my thinking? How are my relationships? How is my food? Do I move my body in beautiful ways? Like, we can actually use this diagnosis that we just want to get rid of to actually highlight some things we need to grow in and change. So, yeah, that's what's coming up. It's a big year.
Yeah. So if people want to come and say hi, they can find you on social media? They can find you on Facebook? Yeah.
They can find me on Facebook, Stacey Robbins. And then I have a wonderful group. We have about 5,000 women right now of women who have Hashimoto's. It's called The Girlfriend's Guide to Hashimoto's group. And you can join in. It's a closed group, so And it's not a medical group. I just want to clarify that. It's a high vibe empowerment group where we all encourage each other.
Oh, we love high vibe. We love that. Oh,
yep.
Stacey, thank you so much for this. Well, it's early for you, it's late for me, but thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to hear your stories, and thank you for sharing all your expertise and your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. You're a delight, Rachel.
Thank you.